You're nothing but a worthless laborer. Know your place and stay there. The harsh voice of site supervisor Linda Carter echoed across the Houston construction site, causing every worker to freeze and witness the public degradation. Maya Washington, 28, stood her ground clutching a steel beam, her composed demeanor stark against the fury of the 42-year-old white woman glaring at her with pure disdain. Ms. Carter, I was simply proposing a more secure method for these support structures, Maya responded with dignity, knowing full well her words would only escalate the situation. Proposing? Linda laughed bitterly. Some ghetto girl thinks she can lecture men who've been building skyscrapers since before you were born. What a pathetic joke. From across the construction zone, watching through the executive trailer windows, stood Omar Al-Rashid, a 59-year-old construction titan who owned the largest development empire in all of Texas. His corporation, worth $8 billion, was responsible for Dallas's most magnificent towers and Houston's sprawling commercial districts. But in this moment, his complete attention was captured by the young woman being publicly humiliated. Something about her facial features, her dignified stance even under attack, made his heart pound in ways he hadn't experienced in 26 years. Maya Washington had been raised in East Houston by a single mother, earning her civil engineering degree through scholarships and overnight shifts. At 28, she was among the rare black women on Texas construction sites, battling prejudice based on both her race and gender daily. Omar continued observing, frozen in place. The way she gestured while explaining concepts to coworkers, how she tilted her head during concentration, even how she secured her hair with a worn elastic band, everything triggered memories he'd buried for decades. Mr. Al-Rashid, his executive assistant Victoria's voice snapped him back to reality. The board members are assembled in the conference room. One moment, Omar murmured, unable to look away from the scene below. Outside, Linda Carter pressed her humiliating attack. Listen here, college princess. On my site, you follow my orders. You carry what I command. If that doesn't work for you, find somewhere else to work. Maya breathed deeply, suppressing the rage building inside her. This job was essential. After months unemployed, she'd finally secured a position with one of Texas's premier construction firms. Fighting back wasn't an option. Understood, Ms. Carter, she said, swallowing her pride completely. Linda smiled cruelly. Excellent. Now haul those concrete bags to the 15th floor. By yourself. Can't handle it? Pack up and leave today. The other workers looked away shamefully. Everyone recognized this impossible task designed purely to humiliate and force her resignation. Omar clenched his fists. 26 years ago, his daughter Layla had vanished with his ex-wife following a devastating argument. Layla was only 3 then, with bright, inquisitive eyes, constantly asking how everything functioned. If alive today, she'd be exactly 28, Maya's age. The resemblance transcended physical appearance. It was that identical intelligent defiance, that refusal to surrender to injustice even when the entire world seemed opposed. Victoria, Omar said abruptly, cancel that meeting. I'm conducting a personal site inspection. But sir, the investors are. Cancel it, he repeated, already moving toward the door. Below, Maya had begun transporting concrete bags, determined to prove her capability. Her compact but strong frame worked efficiently, though everyone knew this battle was hopeless. Linda watched with sadistic pleasure, anticipating the moment of surrender. Neither woman knew that Omar Al-Rashid had preserved a child's gold chain for 26 years, a chain bearing the Al-Rashid family crest, and that identical chain now hung around Maya Washington's neck. If you're intrigued by this shocking connection and want to discover how a billionaire's world can completely transform overnight, make sure to subscribe and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Are you Team Maya, or do you think there's more to this story than meets the eye? What Omar didn't realize was that the degradation unfolding wasn't random cruelty. It was the painful echo of a story beginning 26 years earlier, about to explode and destroy everything he believed about his own history. Omar descended to the construction site with purposeful strides, watching Maya struggle with her fourth concrete bag while Linda Carter smoked smugly, clearly enjoying her psychological torture. Other workers pretended to stay busy, obviously uncomfortable with the situation. "Carter!" Omar's voice sliced through the air like a blade. Linda nearly choked on her cigarette seeing the company owner approaching. "Mr. Al-Rashid. I wasn't expecting an inspection. Everything's running smoothly here." "Smoothly?" Omar glanced at Maya, who'd stopped working to observe curiously. "Explain why an engineer is doing manual labor while qualified workers stand idle." Linda paled. "Sir, she's just a worker. Nothing special about." Maya Washington, University of Texas graduate, structural engineering specialization, Omar interrupted, having memorized her credentials after thorough research the previous night. Top 5% of her graduating class, if memory serves. Maya stared in amazement. How could he possibly know such details? Linda stammered excuses, but Omar's attention had shifted completely. His eyes locked onto the chain around Maya's neck, a delicate gold piece bearing the Al-Rashid family crest in intricate Arabic calligraphy. Time stopped. 26 years ago, he'd given that chain to his 3-year-old daughter on her birthday. It was unique, custom-crafted by a Syrian jeweler in San Antonio. When Layla and her mother disappeared after their argument, that chain was among his most painful losses. "Where did you get that chain?" Omar asked Maya directly, completely ignoring Linda. Maya instinctively touched the pendant, a protective gesture from childhood. "It was my mother's. She said it was the only connection to my father." Omar felt his knees weaken. "Your mother? What was her name?" "Amira Al-Rashid Washington," Maya replied, confused. "But she took my stepfather's surname when they married." "Why are you asking?" The silence that followed was deafening. Linda Carter looked between them, clearly lost but sensing something monumental was happening. The other workers had also stopped, feeling the tension. Omar struggled to maintain composure. Amira, his ex-wife, the woman who'd fled with his daughter after he'd prioritized business over family, who'd changed her name and vanished without trace. "Victoria," he said into his radio, voice trembling. "Clear my entire schedule today. I need you in my office immediately with files on all employees hired in the past 6 months." Maya watched with growing curiosity and mounting fear. "Mr. Al-Rashid, have I done something wrong? If it's about questioning Ms. Carter's methods?" "No," Omar said quickly. "You've done nothing wrong. We need to talk in my office. Now." Linda Carter, realizing she'd completely lost control, tried intervening. "Sir, if I can explain the situation." "You're terminated," Omar said without looking at her. "Collect your belongings and leave. HR will contact you about procedures." The entire site fell silent. Linda Carter, the feared supervisor who'd terrorized employees for years, had just been fired instantly for humiliating the wrong person. Maya followed Omar to his office, heart racing. During the elevator ride, she noticed how he kept stealing glances, as if memorizing every detail of her face. In the elevator, Omar couldn't contain his burning question. "Maya, do you know anything about your biological father?" "Very little," she replied, nervously fingering her chain. "My mother said he was an Arab man who abandoned us when I was small. She refused to discuss him. Said it was too painful." Each word stabbed Omar's heart. Amira had told their daughter a completely different version. In his reality, she'd fled with their child after an argument about his excessive work schedule. He'd searched for years, hired private investigators, but found nothing. "Is your mother still alive?" he asked, bracing himself. "She passed 2 years ago," Maya said, voice heavy with grief. "Lung cancer. In her final days, she was delirious, talking about someone named Omar. She kept saying she was sorry, that she should have told him the truth." The elevator reached the executive floor, but neither moved. Omar was processing that Amira had died without giving him the chance to explain or meet the daughter they'd created. Victoria waited in the office with a thick folder. Seeing Maya enter with her boss, her surprise was obvious. "Victoria," Omar said, "arrange a discreet DNA test. Today." "Sir?" Victoria looked confused. "Just do it," he said, then turned to Maya. "There's something I need to show you." As Omar opened his office's hidden safe, his hands shook, not just at the possibility of finding his lost daughter, but because he was about to discover that his family's history was only half the truth, and the other half would change everything he thought he knew about himself. Omar opened the concealed safe in his office and retrieved a small emerald velvet box. His hands trembled as he placed it before Maya on the desk. "Before I open this, I need to tell you a story. A story about a man who worked so obsessively that he lost everything truly important." Maya stared at the box with curiosity mixed with dread. "Mr. Al-Rashid, I don't understand what's happening." 26 years ago, Omar began, "I was married to a woman named Amira. We had a 3-year-old daughter, a curious, stubborn girl who questioned everything around her." He paused, looking directly into Maya's eyes. "A girl who wore a gold chain with our family crest engraved in Arabic." Maya instinctively touched her chain, pulse accelerating. "I worked 20-hour days building this empire. I convinced myself it was for them, but truthfully, I was escaping my responsibilities as a husband and father. One day, I returned home to find them gone. Amira left only a note saying she couldn't continue living that way." "That has nothing to do with me," Maya whispered, though her voice shook. Omar opened the box. Inside were photographs of a small child, birth certificates, and a second chain identical to Maya's. "I had 2 matching chains created, one for my daughter to wear, one to keep until she matured." Maya examined the photos and felt the world spinning. The child had her eyes, her nose, her inquisitive expression. "This can't be real," she breathed. "Layla Al-Rashid," Omar said, his voice breaking. "That was your original name. You are my daughter." Maya shot up abruptly, knocking over her chair. "No. My mother told me my father abandoned us, that he never cared." "I've been searching for you for 15 years, Omar said, pulling a thick folder from the safe. "Private investigators, newspaper advertisements, rewards. I spent millions trying to find you." Amira changed her identity, moved states, created a new life. She didn't want to be found. Maya thumbed through documents with tears flowing. Detective reports, missing person flyers, records of Omar's cross-country searches. "But why did she lie to me?" "I don't know," Omar admitted. "Perhaps she wanted to protect you from pain. Maybe she genuinely believed you'd be better without me. I failed as a husband, Layla. I failed as a father." Victoria entered quietly. "Mr. Al-Rashid, the laboratory confirmed it. 99.94% match. She is your daughter." The silence was broken only by Maya's sobs. 26 years of resentment, of feeling abandoned, of carrying a stepfather's name who never fully accepted her, all crashing down in minutes. "Linda Carter," Omar said suddenly, his voice turning ice cold. "That supervisor who humiliated you. She has no idea who she targeted." "You already fired her," Maya said through tears. "Firing her is insufficient," Omar replied, reaching for his phone. "Victoria, get legal immediately. Prepare lawsuits for harassment, racial discrimination, and hostile work environment against Linda Carter. Investigate every discrimination case she's been involved with recently." "Sir," Victoria said, "that could cost millions in damages." "I don't care. Every employee she's harmed gets compensation. And I want Carter's story publicized as an example of what happens to discriminators in this company." Omar turned to Maya. "For 26 years, you suffered because I wasn't the father you deserved. Recently, you've endured humiliation because people like Carter think they can judge worth by skin color or background." He walked to the window, gazing down at the construction site. "But now, daughter, it's time to claim your rightful place. Not just in this company but in the world. What do you mean? Maya asked, still processing everything. You're no longer a construction worker. Starting today, you are Maya Al-Rashid, chief engineer and future heir to an $8 billion empire. Below, Linda Carter was being escorted off-site by security, carrying her belongings in a cardboard box. Workers watched silently, knowing they'd witnessed something historic. And Carter? Maya asked. Carter will discover that discriminating against Omar Al-Rashid's daughter is the biggest mistake anyone can make in Texas. When I'm finished, no construction company in the Southwest will consider hiring her. Victoria returned with legal documents. Mr. Al-Rashid, the lawsuit is ready. We discovered Carter has at least 15 discrimination complaints from previous jobs that were covered up. Perfect, Omar smiled coldly. Make this public. Everyone should know what happens when someone targets my family. But Omar didn't know his revenge against Carter was only beginning. Because Maya, now knowing the truth about her origins, was about to make a discovery in her late mother's belongings that would reveal an even more devastating secret, something that would not only change their understanding of the past, but put the entire Al-Rashid empire's future at risk. 3 months later, Linda Carter sat in a cramped apartment in Galveston, staring at her empty bank account and a pile of rejection letters. Maya's lawsuit had resulted in a $3.5 million settlement. But what truly destroyed her was the public exposure. The story, "Racist Supervisor Humiliates Billionaire's Daughter Unknowingly," had exploded across social media and news outlets. Her photo was everywhere as the poster child for workplace discrimination. No construction company wanted association with someone who'd become the national symbol of corporate prejudice. Across Houston, Maya walked Al-Rashid Industries halls as the new vice president of development. Over recent months, she'd rapidly adapted to corporate life, implementing revolutionary diversity and inclusion policies that became industry models. Ms. Al-Rashid, said Marcus Rodriguez, a former site colleague now promoted to operations manager, the investor meeting is confirmed for 3 p.m. Maya smiled. She'd insisted on promoting several construction site colleagues to leadership positions, proving talent had nothing to do with degrees or skin color, but dedication and character. Marcus, how many times must I tell you? Call me Maya. We hauled concrete together, remember? In his office, Omar watched his daughter through glass walls, proud of the strong, just woman she'd become. Recently, she discovered a box of letters her mother Amira had written over the years but never sent. The letters revealed the complete truth. Amira had fled not because Omar abandoned her, but because she feared his reaction upon learning she was pregnant again. She'd lost the baby in early weeks of escape and, ashamed and depressed, decided it was better to let Omar believe they were dead. Dad, Maya said, entering the office, I just received the scholarship program reports. We now have 350 young people from underserved communities studying engineering with our support. And Carter? Omar asked. She's still processing everything. I heard she's working as a cashier at a grocery store in Galveston. Maya showed no satisfaction, merely stating facts. Sometimes people need to lose everything to understand humanity's value. Omar nodded. Revenge had been complete, but brought no joy, only justice. Hopefully she carries that lesson forever. I hope so. And I hope others see what happened and think twice before judging someone by appearance. That afternoon, during the investor meeting, Maya presented the project that would revolutionize Al-Rashid Industries, a low-income housing program specifically employing people from marginalized communities, offering professional training and growth opportunities. Gentlemen, she said to the room full of white men in suits, you're seeing living proof that talent exists everywhere. 3 months ago, I was a construction worker you wouldn't notice on the street. Today, I'm leading billion-dollar projects. One investor raised his hand. Ms. Al-Rashid, isn't hiring people without traditional qualifications risky? The risk, Maya replied firmly, is continuing to ignore 70% of the population because they weren't born privileged. Linda Carter had all traditional qualifications. Look where that led her. Comment below and let us know, do you think people like Linda Carter can truly change, or are some people beyond redemption? Also, tell us which state you're watching from. We love seeing our viewers from across America. 6 months later, Al Rashid Industries had become the most profitable and respected construction company in America. Maya's inclusion model was being replicated by corporations worldwide. Linda Carter, meanwhile, had finally found work at a small auto repair shop in Beaumont. Her boss, a Vietnamese immigrant named Hien Nguyen, didn't know her past and treated her with dignity. For the first time in months, Linda was learning what it meant to be judged by character, not social status. Maybe, Linda muttered while organizing inventory, I deserved everything that happened. In the Houston penthouse, father and daughter dined together every Friday, a tradition created to compensate for lost time. On Omar's office wall, beside diplomas and business awards, hung a simple framed photo, Maya on the construction site wearing a hard hat, smiling the day he found her. Do you know the biggest lesson I learned? Omar said, looking at his daughter. What, Dad? That spending 26 years searching for you taught me more about humility than 30 years building an empire. And that you, facing prejudice daily, became a better leader than I ever was. Maya took her father's hand. We both learned that family isn't about blood or money. It's about choosing daily to fight for each other and for those who need a voice. Maya's story proves that regardless of where you're born or your skin color, your value is determined by character and determination. If this story of overcoming adversity touched you, subscribe to the channel for more stories showing how justice always finds a way, even when it seems impossible. Omar had tried building an empire based solely on financial success. But he discovered his greatest wealth was the daughter he thought he'd lost forever. He learned that true leadership doesn't come from intimidating others, but from lifting them up. And sometimes the people society underestimates most are exactly those who can change the world, if someone gives them a chance.